Have you ever noticed how prices for everything just keep going up? This isn't just bad luck. It's a phenomenon called inflation, and it feels like a constant drain on our wallets. What if governments, the very institutions that are supposed to protect our economic well-being, secretly, or not so secretly, benefit from it? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the most misunderstood relationships in economics, the love-hate affair between governments and inflation. By the end of this video, you'll understand why the system is structured in a way that almost encourages rising prices. So, stick around as we dive deep into why governments might just be inflation's biggest fan. To really get this, we need to talk about the single biggest item on most governments' balance sheets: debt. National debt. Think of it like a giant mortgage. Now, imagine you have $1 million mortgage, and suddenly, the value of $1 is cut in half. It stays $1 million. In real terms, it just became much easier to pay off. This is exactly what inflation does for governments. It's a stealthy way to reduce the real value of their outstanding debt. The pounds, dollars, or euros they have to pay back in the future are worth less than the ones they borrowed in the past. If a government can keep inflation running at, say, 2 or 3% a year, it's effectively getting a 2 or 3% discount on its massive debt pile, year after year. This incentive is so powerful that it's baked into the very structure of modern economies. So, how does a government actually make inflation happen? The primary tool is monetary policy, usually wielded by a country's central bank, like the Federal Reserve in the US or the European Central Bank. One of the main ways they can spur inflation is by controlling interest rates. This encourages spending and investment. More people take out loans for cars and houses, and companies borrow to expand operations. Another powerful tool is something called quantitative easing, or QE. The central bank creates new digital money out of thin air and uses it to buy government bonds and other financial assets. Essentially, the central bank is increasing the money supply. That's the very definition of inflation. These aren't secret operations. They are publicly announced policies, often justified as necessary measures to stimulate a sluggish economy or prevent deflation. Now, you might be thinking, if governments benefit from inflation, why don't they just crank it up to 10 or 20% and wipe out their debts quickly? Uncontrolled, high inflation, or hyperinflation, is an economic catastrophe. When people lose faith in their currency, the entire economic system collapses. Bartering replaces normal commerce. Social and political chaos follows. No government wants this. The sweet spot for most governments is a low, stable, and predictable level of inflation, usually around 2%. This target is not an accident. At 2%, inflation is high enough to gently erode the real value of debt over time, but it's also low enough that it doesn't cause widespread panic or destroy consumer confidence. It keeps the wheels of commerce turning and gives the government a subtle but powerful tool for managing its finances without spooking the public. Beyond just managing debt, inflation also plays a crucial role in government revenue. As prices and wages rise due to inflation, people get pushed into higher income tax brackets. This phenomenon is called bracket creep. In real terms, your purchasing power hasn't changed. You're not any richer, so even though you don't feel any wealthier, your tax bill goes up. It's another stealth tax. It happens automatically. Similarly, capital gains taxes are also affected. But if inflation was 5% that year, your real gain is only about $5, yet you're taxed on the full $10 nominal gain. It's a subtle, almost invisible way for the government to increase its share of the economic pie without anyone really noticing the sleight of hand. So, who are the winners and losers in this inflationary game? But they're not the only ones. Large corporations with significant debt can also benefit, as the real value of their loans decreases over time. As the value of money goes down, the price of tangible things tends to go up. The losers, unfortunately, are often the most vulnerable. Savers and people on fixed incomes are hit the hardest, but inflation is running at 3%. You are losing 2% of your purchasing power every single year, and less each year, forcing them to cut back on their standard of living. Inflation acts as a regressive tax, disproportionately hurting those with the least financial flexibility and the fewest hard assets. So, what can you do? The key is to make your money work for you in a way that outpaces inflation. The goal is to own assets that tend to appreciate in value over time. Historically, the stock market has provided returns that have beaten inflation over the long run. Real estate is another classic inflation hedge. Commodities like gold and, more recently, some people argue, cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, are also seen as potential stores of value. Of course, all investments carry risk, and it's essential to do your own research and build a diversified portfolio that matches your risk tolerance. You need to position yourself on the winning side of the inflation equation, alongside the debtors and asset owners, rather than on the losing side with the savers. To wrap this all up, the relationship between governments and inflation is far more complex than we're often led to believe. It acts as a stealth tax, a way to devalue debt, and a method for increasing tax revenue without public outcry. This isn't necessarily a malicious plot. It's more of a systemic feature born out of the pressures of modern governance and finance. By understanding these incentives, you can better navigate the economic landscape, and why investing is not just a way to get rich, but a crucial defensive strategy to simply preserve the value of your hard-earned money. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this explanation helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into how the world of money really works.